What's going on YouTube? Just your friendly neighborhood young Chevy truck trying to bring you guys another video today. And today I'm going to be testing to see if my Flexplate is actually bad. Honestly, this is really all I got up my sleeve in terms of a test without actually just taking it all apart. Because when I think about it, say we take the Flexplate off of the torque converter and we start it up and we don't hear the sound anymore. Does that mean that it's on the transmission side of things and now that nothing is spinning over there we don't hear the sound? Or does it mean that it's on the engine side of things still and the engine just isn't under any load so the sound can't continue to be made? So in a perfect world, I would love to take the torque converter off of the Flexplate in this video, start her up, and hopefully I still hear the sound even with the torque converter completely disconnected from the Flexplate altogether. That's what I'm hoping for. If I hear the sound, then I know that it's that. And then we can move forward and decide on what we're gonna do next based off of that information. So let's go ahead and just get to it. Let's just get straight into it. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this motor turned to the right position. Not gonna lie, I'm a little intimidated now after taking the torque converter off of there and sliding it back, because it's really not that much space between the two, and I really hope the vibration of the motor running doesn't make it do anything weird or come out. But I guess it's not the end of the world if it starts to touch it a little bit. I'll just have to cut it off and push it back all over again. But now gotta put everything back together because I still don't have the spark plugs in or anything. So put the spark plugs in, tighten the accessory drives back to where they were, and then start her up. Okay, so the spark plugs are in now, and the accessory drives are tight again. So I think it's time to go ahead and start it up. I'm a little intimidated by it because, like I said, the torque converter bolts are all taken loose, and I got about this much room in between the two of them. So I hope the torque converter stays where it's at. Hope it stays where it's at. But like I said, if I still hear a noise, then I know for a fact that it's on the engine side. But if I don't hear a noise, then probably gonna have to do some more thinking about it. But best case scenario, we hear a noise still. Even after all this effort, we still hear a noise. Just gonna turn it a little bit first, just to make sure that it clears, instead of cranking it all the way. You know, if I'm gonna start the engine, I should probably connect the battery first. That might help a little bit. Sounds good to me. I'm gonna go ahead and go for the whole thing. It was definitely touching the torque converter after a while. Like, I only got a couple seconds before it just pulls itself right back out. So I'm thinking it's most definitely touching it now. It wasn't before. Okay, so that is quite the learning experience because, I don't know what that sound was because it wasn't touching. It sounded like it was. Maybe that's the difference between it being connected and not connected. Maybe the torque converter being connected to it kind of gives it like some rigidity, even though it's cracked. And now that rigidity is gone, it makes a different kind of sound. Because I'm hearing something totally different. Because I thought that they were touching. I thought the torque converter and the Flexplate were touching together, but that's not the case anymore. I thought that they were touching at the very end of the last clip where I cut the engine off. It's because I thought they were touching together, but I looked under there and they're not. So I'm thinking that sound is something new altogether because there's no converter attached to it. I think converter attached is going to sound completely different from, it's going to make a different kind of wretched sound when there is no torque converter on there, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to go ahead and try it one more time and see if I can get it to make some more ugly noises. And then I think we're going to call it there, and then we'll kind of diagnose in time. Or we'll diagnose, obviously, in the comment section. You guys will tell me what you think. But I think the torque converter, not the torque converter, I think the Flexplate is gone. And it only makes sense because for those of you who don't know, and those of you who are just tuning in, the motor is modified on this setup. The transmission is modified on this setup. The rear end is modified on this setup, and it's a brand new drive shaft. Everything is new except for the Flexplate. I just had this if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of mindset, and I didn't think that the Flexplate would be an issue. But obviously it is, and so yeah, now I might just have to try to swap it. And I thought I would have enough space to do so with the engine in the car, but I don't think I am. I thought I could slide it back some, and I wouldn't have to slide the torque converter back some, and I wouldn't have to drop the transmission. But I think the transmission will have to come out either way in order for that to work. But we know it's not something transmission. Well, Let's go ahead and crank it back up and do some more testing before we make our conclusions. And the fume situation is getting really bad in here, so I'm kind of trying to be done with this so I can go on with my day and not be woozy at the end of it. Okay, I think it's time for my last resort. Throw the camera down there because it's making a wretched noise once I start revving it, but the torque converter still has that same gap space between it. So I'm trying to think, I don't know in what world would the gap close when it's running. It shouldn't close when it's running, I don't think. Not unless there's something really defective going on down there, but I don't see a reason for it to make that sound without making any contact with the torque converter at all. And if it is, then we know it's definitely engine side, and we know it's definitely Flexplate related. Or worse, but I mean, if it is, I got a 383 ready to be put together over there. I'm just trying to get my money's worth out of this motor though. So let's go ahead and let's put this camera somewhere clever down below, and then hopefully we can catch what's actually happening under there when I start this thing up. So I'm about to serve my camera up and sacrifice it, but doing it for content. And I know you're probably thinking, put a GoPro down there, but it's too dark, bro. A GoPro ain't gonna see nothing at this hour underneath this C10. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this thing under here, and we'll get back to you in a second. Alright, sorry truck in advance for what I'm about to do, and sorry camera for in advance for what I'm about to do. But I gotta know what's going on. Yep, torque converter's back in the same position. So let's see if we can make that sound. And if I see any contact, then I'll know that it's making that ugly sound, this new ugly sound, and it's only on the engine side. And that would kind of lead me to believe that it's torque converter. I mean, flex plate, my bad. That would lead me to believe that it's flex plate. Whew, that's nerve-wracking. Let's go ahead and start it up. This is like take 4 on trying to explain my logic on all of this, but it's so strange. The flex plate, the torque converter didn't move at all. It seems like, I mean, in terms of like back and forth, it didn't move out. Like it stayed in the same backward position the entire time. So it's kind of strange that it had a point where it completely made it up and started spinning with the engine. Because like I said, the torque converter, after that footage that you just saw, I literally went down there and tried to push the torque converter back. It wouldn't go back any further because it was in the same position the entire time. So I'm trying to figure out, I guess the flex plate, after it gets going for a while, has enough flex in it to reach out and touch the torque converter and make it spin with it. But if the flex plate is not supposed to have that much flex in it, if it's not supposed to have enough flex to do that, then obviously it's probably bad. Another thing we can rule out completely that the problem is on the transmission side of things, because of the simple fact that the torque converter was fully spinning with the engine and we did not hear the noise like we heard before. So we know now that it's not on the transmission side of things. The torque converter should be fine. The transmission should be fine. I'm thinking now with that information, it's definitely on the engine side of things. And the fact that we don't hear the same noise anymore after it being all taken apart, process of elimination, if it's not on the transmission side, then it's got to be on the engine side. So I'm thinking that it is the flex plate, just because of the information that we have now. I think it is the flex plate. Comment below, tell me what you think. But I think it's pretty much a done deal. That's what it is. So now I got to kind of decide on how I want to move on it. But yeah. Definitely the flex plate. Like, comment below also if you think, like, is the flex plate, should it have enough flex to do what it just did, or should it be completely sturdy in place? You know, I mean, it's obviously, you know, it kind of goes with the name. It's the flex plate, so it should have some give in it, I would think. You know, like, I don't know. I'm just, you know, context clues, kind of guessing. But I don't think it's supposed to have enough give to literally reach out and touch it to get it to spin with it. So yeah, I'm thinking I'm ruling it to flex plate, and that's probably the best way that I can explain it to you. But I'm saying flex plate for right now. And also the fact that when we took everything apart, obviously there's no load anymore. There's no load to provoke it. So obviously we're not hearing the noise anymore, kind of like how I predicted it would be. But I think if we kind of use, you know, process of elimination, if it's not A and it's not B, then it must be C kind of logic. Then if it's not, like I said, on the transmission side of things, that's A. And if we stopped hearing the noise when we took the torque converter apart from the flex plate, that's B. Then it must be C. The flex plate must be bad. Must be bad. I know this engine has problems, but like I said, I'm just trying to get my money's worth out of it so I can make some content before we decide to put the new drag racing setup together. Before we decide to do that. So just like that, y'all, I think this one's pretty much over. I gotta decide on how I want to move from here on, because this means that either I could try to fix what's broken and get it rolling again, or I could just go ahead and start building on the engine, which is probably going to be what I do. But, you know, you never know with me. I'm a dynamic individual. I change my mind and I adapt. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what I come up with. You know, it's going to take me a second to get a plan together, but I will get a plan together. So make sure y'all stay tuned. I really appreciate you guys watching. I will see you in the next one. Have a good one.